Hey, Sammy here. I'm not your typical job counselor. I work remote and I travel the world as I kickstart careers. This is raw, real, and on the road.
Hi, it's Sammy here, and this is the Career Kickstart Show. I am excited to bring you Lisa Curtis today. She is the mind behind Charter Wellness, which helps you figure out your mindful retirement. And I know some of you guys are thinking, hey, wait, that's kind of a long time off. But for us millennials, we need to think about retirement and just kind of like figure out that stuff in the future because it will get there sooner than we think. And that's why I thought Lisa would be a great special guest expert to bring on to give us the know-how on how a millennial can get themselves, their head on straight for thinking about retirement. So, Lisa, would you, I know you could probably introduce yourself better. So give us just a little bit of a rundown, your elevator pitch, if you will, on yourself and Charter Wellness.
Sure, and good morning. Thanks for having me, Sammy.
Hey.
So here's my elevator pitch. Charter Wellness and the Mindful Retirement really is about life planning and life design, taking a look at where you are now, where you want to go in the future, and how you want to get there. So that when you get there, and for all of you guys, especially millennials, you have all this amazing space, and otherwise known as time, to get you to the retirement and the life that you want to lead. So my passion is to help people get where they want to go, especially to make sure that they have the retirement that they want.
Oh, and that is something that is very key. And it's something that even though, you know, I am in my 20s, I have thought about because I grew up in a retirement town south of Tucson. So for me, I saw a lot of people who were in retirement, and I saw that there's a lot of different ways that people could be retired, and also kind of, you know, there's good ways, and then there's like some not so good ways where you're like, oh man. So
Exactly.
yeah, there's some people who are able to just, you know, they're like traveling around, they're, you know, they're gardening, they're doing a lot of really cool stuff. And then some people who are, you know, really struggling, maybe they're taking a part-time job and they're struggling with health issues, you know, so there's a lot of ways to go about it. And I would love to start this off with you just kind of, because I can say why I think getting your retirement P's and Q's, you know, why getting those in a row is important. But why do you think that people in their 20s and 30s should start thinking about retirement?
Are not thinking about retirement or are thinking about retirement?
Why they should?
Great question. I think that people in their 20s and early 30s should be thinking about retirement because you've got this magic thing called time. So time will allow you to put some practices and behaviors into place early so that when you get to retirement age, they're really well established. It also gives you, and I'm not going to talk about the finances, but except to say this, that all this time gives you the time to really cash in on something called compounding interest. So that your $1 today can equal many hundreds of dollars down the road. We can't, you know, when we're in our 50s and 60s, compounding interest still works, but we don't get quite as much bang for the buck. So the same goes with the small practices that you guys can put into place now. You get the most bang for your buck now if you start now, and in 20 or 30 years when you go to retire, you're going to get a tremendous payoff for those. So I've got some great examples if you'd like to hear some of those.
I would love to.
So one of the best examples I have, and I know it's going to sound a little odd, and I'm using this with permission, is my mother. So my family is a great proving ground for everything, but one of the things that has been remarkable is that early April, my mother had knee replacement surgery. Now, for all these years before this knee replacement surgery, my mother has worked out like a fiend. She is strong. She could walk faster than fast. I usually couldn't keep up with her. But then she had a total knee replacement. And part of the torture of a total knee replacement recovery is that you have to put on every day and take off every night these compression stockings, which are essentially girdles, really tight girdles that you have to put around your swollen leg while you're in pain and you can't really move very well. So it already sounds torturous, doesn't it?
It does. I don't even like wearing socks that much, so that sounds awful.
It's awful. And they go all the way up to your hip. It's awful. So a friend of hers had surgery exactly 1 week beforehand. And this friend said, don't worry, it's going to be a piece of cake. I have no problems getting the stockings on and off. I can do it, no problem. Well, then came my mother's turn. And to say that it was a problem is putting it mildly, Sami. The two of us, she was sitting on a bench in the bathroom and I was on the floor in the bathroom. We couldn't get them on. The whole time, both of us she's in pain. I'm trying not to hurt her. It was horrible. And eventually we were laughing about it. But at one point she said, this is why I should have taken up yoga 20 years ago. Because indeed, her friend had been doing yoga for 20 years and had no problems getting those stockings on and off. 2 people couldn't get those stockings on and off my mother. That's how awful they are. So again, little teeny tiny things, big payoff later. Eating healthy now gets you in the habit of it so that when you're 60, you're not saying, I can't stand to eat fruits and vegetables. You're going to like fruits and vegetables because that's what you're in the habit of eating. Things like that will pay off tremendously. And the sooner you start, the better off you're going to be. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, that makes complete sense, especially with saving money and just thinking about, okay, how do you get in the habit of it? And also, one thing that you mentioned was compounding interest. Now,
compounding interest?
Are you talking about somebody, making an account, investing and stuff like that? Or like,
yeah.
Okay, cool. And do you give us some ideas for somebody like me who is just, happy that like I'm just like regularly paying off my student loan and trying to pay off a little bit extra?
Sure.
Give some more information.
Sure. So again, I'm not a financial whiz, but here's what I can tell you. That if you put $1 under your mattress today, and actually that is not so much of a joke, different cultures have different belief systems about retirement, and some people really do put the dollar under the mattress. But if you put that dollar under the mattress right now, as a matter of fact, while we're talking, I'll look this up for you. In 20 or 30 years, when you go back to that dollar under the mattress, provided it's still there, you haven't thrown it out, it will still be just that single dollar. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's logical, right? Yep. So if you put it into, however, an account of some sort, what's going to happen is that dollar will multiply and you will get significantly more money at the end when you pick up not your mattress, but when you open that account up. And you will have made significantly, you'll have earned money. It doesn't give you interest on just that dollar. When it earns like 5 cents, the next time it calculates it, it will give you that money plus, so your $1.05 will be what it gets compounded on. That's why they call it compounding interest. So here, I'm going to do this really easily. So if I put in $10 to an account and I add in $52 a year, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say, because you could do $1 a week, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And let's say you've got 30 years until you retire. And let's give it a really modest 2% interest, compounding interest rate. So your original, you ready for this? Your original $10 and your $52 a year at the end of 30 years will be $2,169.84.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
So you don't really have to do a whole lot of work. So if you set up an account in one of the brokerage houses, and all the big ones like Vanguard and Fidelity, those are the 2 best known ones, or Schwab, they will help you figure out, where to put it, but also they'll begin to talk to you about putting aside that $52 a year and just what's going to happen to it over time. And when you get done with those student loan payments, which are a killer, aren't they? Oh, they're terrible. So let's say you're paying, and I know you're not, but let's say you're paying $100 a month on those student loan payments.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you
If
wish
only.
it was just $100
I
a
know,
month?
right? That sounds great.
I know. So now let's pretend you take that $52 that you were already putting in per year, and every month you put in that $100 to your retirement account. So now that's $1,200 a year because you're not giving it to the student loan people. You're going to pay yourself first. That's a tremendous amount of money that you're beginning to put in per year.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does. And one thing, because I do have a Charles Schwab account, is, one thing that I do is that what I do is that I have like something like $50, which is something where, if you think of like a night out in like a hip city, where you have dinner, drinks, whatever, you're with your friends, blah, blah, blah. Somehow you're in a place where it's like $9 for, a drink that has a goofy name. I try to put I could spend $50 here. So instead what I do is I just automatically have, every time I get a paycheck, $50 is just taken out and put into a savings. You're making it seem like I need to call up my Charles Schwab people and be like, you know what, I do the bare minimum with this account. How can I maximize this? Because I already have some savings. I'm just more like, okay, it's going somewhere and I feel good that I'm not touching it.
Exactly. So you make a really good point. Again, that goes back to, the planning and design. What you're telling me is that, yeah, it's really great to have friends, and I totally agree, and go out and have fun. But if we don't pay ourselves first, when we get to retirement, we're not going to have a whole lot. So if it's one night a week that you don't go out, or one night per month that you don't go out, and you put that money into paying yourself for retirement, sort of you're paying yourself now for the future, you're going to reap incredible benefits. So again, I just did a little bit more math. I love these little calculators. So I added your $2,100. I added $2,100 per year to your account for 25 years. Because, I'm going to guess that you're really ambitious. You're going to be successful, just like your listeners are. They're really going to put forth the effort. And you guys are going to have that kind of money to put out once a year. You can make a one-time drop into your account. That's going to yield you $72,000 at retirement.
Yes. Nice.
That's a lot of money, right?
That is. And then once I get out of my salad days and I can put more than $50 a month, then I'm really going to be in business. Listen, that is great. And one thing that I am just going to let everybody know who's listening, I'm going to put in the show notes this awesome guide that Lisa has on her website, charterwellness.net. It's the retirement guide by age. And I've been looking at it. We've kind of talked about, setting up and contributing to your retirement fund. We talked about saving, staying in the best shape. I know we got to wake up for those 9 a.m. Zumba classes on Sunday. Just got to do it. But one thing that I find interesting is that one of your last points for people in the 20s, 30s, and 40s age range is build and nurture family, social, and professional relationships. Would you expand on that?
Sure. I'm happy to. I'm thrilled to. I wish you guys could see my smile. It's because of my office. Because that goes back to, again, the planning and design. We know science proves this. There's study after study that shows that two huge factors make a massive difference when we get into our later years. And that's having a community around us. So the two things that we can do, and really it's better to start early again, is building those relationships and nurturing them. You guys are just out of college or just out of that age range where it's kind of easy to make new friends. But as you get older, life gets a little bit more isolating. So if you don't nurture new friendships and keep your old friendships going, pay time and attention to them, pay time and attention to family members, it's really easy to say, boy, I haven't seen that person in 10, 15 years, which I know sounds crazy, but honestly, I haven't seen my best friend in face-to-face. I probably haven't seen her in 5 years. Now, that's not because I don't want to, but she lives a pretty good distance away. It's really hard logistically. We both have really tricky schedules. So if you don't nurture those relationships somehow, they can very easily fade. And those are going to be incredibly protective resources for us as we get older. The other resource that we can really get into early and hopefully, stay there is some sort of a spiritual belief system. Because some sort of a spiritual belief system, again, helps us feel like we are not necessarily just here for the, what am I doing here thing. Having a larger framework for what your purpose, what your mission is, can be really useful. I'm not saying it has to be one particular thing, but some greater sense of purpose also makes for a significantly happier life in the long run.
Yeah, and the thing that I really like about that point is that I have a large family. I have a lot of nieces and nephews. I have a lot of cousins. So for me, whenever if the crap hits the fan, I have like a lot of people whose couches I could sleep on if worse comes to worse. I could really couch surf, but I have some friends who are only children, or they have distant family sort of things, and they don't have that even just mental security to be like, oh, I'm going to take this wild leap to start my own business or to move across country. They don't have that psychological security because they don't have those connections. And, the thing that comes to mind is, and you're probably going to laugh at this, but I think of the Golden Girls, because that's one of my retirement goals, is to have an awesome house of my besties where we're just sassy, we're in Boca Raton, we're just drinking Bloody Marys and having clubs and wearing fun hats. But
and
you
actually,
get that.
I'm not laughing. I think that's great. Actually, a retirement community, or not even a community, a group of besties just put together something called Besties Row. They all built tiny houses on, in one long strip sort of, so they can all hang out together. They all have their individual space, but they can all get together. And I think that is awesome, because you're right. Not everybody has large families or large connections. So if you build them now, you're going to be able to have them. There is really something magical about being able to say, I've had a best friend for 40 years. There's no other way. There's nobody else in my life who has known me other than my family that long. And it's a really cool feeling. So I'd say nurture those family connections, nurture your friendships. It'll pay off.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like this is all great advice. I'm just going to summarize for everybody where it's about saving. Think about, future you. Present you is doing fine. Think about future you,
Exactly.
Don't treat your body like a dumpster. Try to cut the smoking and try to get some physical activity, get off the couch, and posture. Oh my God. That's something that I have to work on. I have if I don't work at it, I would have a hunchback, because I could completely get into computer shoulder mode. So, and then it's take advantage of any retirement funds, that either something that is through your employer or just building up on your own. Utilize that compounding interest, which will become our new bestie in our
yes, it will.
We'll have our 4 gal pals in our Golden Girl style crash pad, and then compounding interest will be the 5th member of the household. And then make sure to build up a community and to build up your why. What are you doing? Which I feel is fantastic. One thing that I noticed growing up in Green Valley, Arizona, was that the folks who retired, and they mostly just then got into an armchair and just watched Judge Judy for the rest of their lives. Those people, unfortunately, kind of crapped out at a certain point. But I would work, I worked at my job, my youthful job was at a Radio Shack, and I would work with folks who, one guy, he was a 90-year-old man who was the biggest techie. He had the latest Apple products. He was showing me stuff, when that cliche that, there's older people who, they get confused at technology. He wasn't. He would help me out, and he was always active, and he'd walk there and stuff like that, and he did not seem at all I would not have thought he was 90. I would have thought that he was like in his 60s or his 70s because he was just so active. And that is such a key thing, is to just keep building something.
Keep moving.
Yeah, inertia is the killer. So, you've given a lot of good food for thought, for me and my listeners. But when they want to find out more about you, Lisa, where do they go? Tell us where we can find you on the web and what you're working on now.
So I'm so glad you asked me what I'm working on, because I'm practically jumping out of my skin. I'm so excited about this. So you can find me at charterwellness.net. Because of course somebody already has the .com. So don't forget the .net part. Drop me an email. So it's lisa@charterwellness.net. And I will be more than happy to chat with you and your listeners and get you pointed in good directions. But the thing that I am super excited for is that I'm putting together a workshop, a 5-day workshop on planning and design. And that will be on September 18th. So it's for 1 week. So it's a little assignment every single day of that week to sort of get you started and, headed in the right direction. Again, the sooner you start planning out where you want to go, the easier it's going to be to get there. I'm offering that for a super, super reduced price of $59. When I offer it to the public later, it's going to be significantly more. So if you're interested in that, or if one of your listeners is, they can drop me a note and I will shoot them a link to get that done, because that's kind of a little group that will be some homework every day and a live and a Facebook group to, exchange ideas and information in. So those are the things I'm working on. And I have a weekly newsletter that goes out. So if you want to hop over to the website and sign up for that, I would be thrilled to have you. Please don't think that because you're a millennial that, this isn't the stuff for you. You are exactly the age to start thinking about this stuff. It's really good stuff. And I'm so glad to be here today. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you, Lisa. I feel like this is a topic that not enough people talk to young people about. It's something where they tell you to wait until almost you have to run to catch up, So thank you so much for explaining this in really digestible and understandable ways. And thank you so much. And I will put into the show notes the links to Lisa's website, charterwellness.net, so you'll be able to find that there. And thank you again, Lisa.
Thanks. I hope you have a blast. Now, I know that you are no longer in Prague, and you are in?
I am in Lisbon now. So that's...
Yeah, I knew. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know. That's one of the
fantastic.
I know. See, that's the fun thing of having so many relatives, is that I have the psychological safety to go on a digital nomad sort of journey in my 20s. But I'm still saving.
And I'm so proud of you. So keep up the good work, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Lisa, and thank you all for listening. I'm Sami Gardner, and this is the Career Kickstart Show. Bye!
Find something cool at cool.careerkickstartacademy.com.